Surviving Reality contains explicit content full of snark and sarcasm that may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to Surviving Reality.
I'm Corey.
And I'm Carly, and this is the Traitors, Season 4, Episode 8, A Queen Never Comes Off Her Throne.
This is a Candace line, isn't it?
It is.
It wasn't a Johnny line. I guess not.
No, but I wish it was.
It should have been.
You know, I'm really enjoying a lot of Johnny's commentary.
Yes.
And I was really enjoying Eric this episode.
Eric was funny too. Yeah, like Eric has really been coming out of his shell, I think, but still just as clueless as ever. A clueless faithful, definitely. But yeah, we got a lot of updates here, a lot of changes in the game.
This was a big episode.
You know, they really drummed up the Red Wedding feast on the previous episode. I think this episode was better than those episodes.
I agree with you.
Yeah, like
You
by
know,
far.
Whenever anybody's involved in the making of a TV show, they should just not give their opinions about what the best episode is, because it always ends up being a different opinion than what the audience has.
Well, yeah, they have their own. Maybe there was just like more work that went into those episodes. There's more stuff behind the scenes that we weren't aware of. Perhaps.
I mean, I'm sure filming the banquet was a lot of fun, Alan.
Oh, yeah. And like the production that went into it, it was a ton of work. I'm sure that it was. But this, as far as like gameplay and stuff, this episode was better than the past like 2 episodes, I would say.
So we left off in the turret. It's kind of uncomfortable, to say the least.
Yeah, because Rob has just successfully voted Lisa out, and it was pretty much at his behest after he said that he was going to play things cool and stay back and not really say much. And then
he buried Lisa.
Yeah, he was like the main reason why she was being brought up at the round table. He kept harassing all of this, just bringing it up constantly for the entire roundtable discussion.
And then, of course, we had Candace, who had to throw out a petty vote for Rob. So,
a petty vote that she deemed a throwaway vote because she couldn't decide between Lisa and Natalie, which at that point, it's like, just go for something. I think that Candace was doing that as a protective measure, though. I think she was doing that as more of a thing for Rob of like, if you vote me out, then pressure's going to be on, you know, like if Rob pushes to have me be removed from the game, people are going to look at Rob now because I voted for him.
Oh, yeah. And I think that's what people are unhappy about, because they feel like Candace decided to sink all of the Traitors games rather than, you know, have it be every man for himself.
Kind of. Yeah, I guess. But like, that's what we're picking up with, right? It's Candace and Rob having their turret conversation here after this round table where it's just, there's some tension. Yeah, it's Alan comes in, he's like, it's palpable. The tension in the turret here this evening.
But they have a job to do, so the show must go on.
Since a traitor was voted out at banishment, they do have the option as traitors to either murder or recruit. You could try to seduce a faithful to join you as a traitor. But they're basically realizing, I don't think that that's going to work. Like, this isn't really a team that's built on trust right now, the two of us, between Candace and Rob.
How are we going to bring in a third person?
Who would you agree upon to bring in as a third person? If they say no, then you miss losing, or like you miss removing a faithful from the game then, because if they say no to that recruitment, then there is no murder either. So it just game kind of just continues on, I suppose. So that's not good strategically. We need to remove somebody from the game.
Yeah, but I also feel like they're at a point where they're unsure of where to go next. There's no obvious target for murder, in my opinion, that's going to make everybody look a different direction. So I think I would have considered recruiting, although I understand Candace being concerned that if they introduce a new person into the turret, that Rob may just get that person to work with him.
Right.
Because now she feels like he's untrustworthy and a snake.
Well, and it seems like the allegiances that Rob has formed with the Faithfuls are a little bit more solidified than the ones that Candace has, where those people that she's aligning with, even if she brought them in, I don't think it would be enough to have them be completely on her side, in the same way that if Rob recruited somebody in who he's friends with, if it was Rob and Colton coming into the turret, like, you see what I'm saying? Like, that would be very different than if Candace was trying to recruit Tara or somebody.
Well, in my opinion, one of the issues that Candace has had in this game is that the people she aligned herself with early on have been like fence sitters. And they're very easy to influence at the round table. So they may go in and say they're doing one thing, they get there and they do another.
They change their minds.
Whereas the alliance that Rob has formed for himself, they're very much in lockstep with each other.
It's a voting block that you can kind of count on when they do decide on something. That's the direction that they're going, definitely. So they kind of rule out, all right, recruiting, that's not really the best option here. So how do we decide on a murder? And Rob is kind of chiming in on his opinions of people, but he's leaving this to Candace because, hey, I know I got Lisa banished, so whoever you murder tonight, it'll be your decision. I won't really have an influence on that. And then I think Rob kind of reverse psychology plays Candace into this too, because Candace gets petty very quick, and she goes, well, I think it might be nice to remove your friend Colton from the game, because he seemed to be all on board with Lisa being out of here too. So as part of the banishment, he's kind of responsible for that as well. And he has been a problem for rooting people out here. So she is looking at Colton being the top pick for her, and Rob's like, well, I really wouldn't like that because I'm very close with him. Oh,
and
no.
he withholds an important piece of information.
Yes.
Which is that Colton said Candace's name and Steven's name last night. So if you suddenly end up with Colton missing, he's dead, is that because it was Candace or Steven?
Right. So he's not saying any of that. He's just saying, it's your decision. And so we don't know who she goes with until breakfast the next morning.
What did that remind you of, though? That interaction in the turret?
It was Danielle having Carolyn pick all of the chess answers.
Exactly.
Which everybody who was playing that was then like, I think Carolyn might be a traitor, because all of those answers were her fingerprints all over those. So that was the big callback, I think, the throwback to that.
Yeah, I think the lesson here is that when you get this far in the game, if you have a traitor who just says to you, it's up to you. You make the decisions. I'll be cool with whatever you decide. It's because they're trying to let you screw up your own game.
Yeah, they know something that you don't know. And at this point, Rob knew a couple of things that Candace didn't know. Because Rob's also sitting on, he has the dagger, so he could pull that out and use that at a round table and get 2 votes if he needs that. So he's not letting her know.
I think he just got some people excited
that he's sitting on a dagger?
He could pull the dagger out at any point.
He's going to whip it out. Whip out the dagger.
Calm down, everybody.
He's not whipping it out at breakfast, though. Whose name's coming up? Oh, it's Candace. Candace's name is coming up as the most suspicious, because she was so set in her voting pattern originally, where she was like on Ron. That was it. Ron and Donna.
And she kept preaching to everybody else that you need to be consistent. Every time we just start considering all kinds of other people, that's been a problem for us. We need to keep sticking to the people that we've originally thought were suspicious and get rid of them, not change direction. So people are like, that was weird. Why would she just suddenly have a throwaway vote?
Right. It's not seeming to match with it's out of character for the way that she's been playing the game.
Also, nobody finds Rob suspicious. So the fact that she put his name down is really throwing them as well.
Extra weird. Yeah. So everybody's piling in for breakfast. Everybody's talking about their theories, and we're seeing who it's winding down to. Honestly, did you think that it was going to be Colton? Because
No.
Colton was murdered.
I've got to tell you, I was shocked. I think I was just as shocked everybody else in that room everyone in the room.
I mean, like, I thought he would be up for banishment more. Like, I had him as like either or. I had him as a threat for both. Like, that's how I've kind of been trying to assess in the bracketology, which we took a little bit of a hit, but we're still in 5th place. Just throwing that out there. We'll have the bracketology update at the end. We're hanging solid here. But I think, yeah, like for Colton, he would be a valuable murder, even though I didn't think that Rob would let that happen.
Who did we come down to? It was Colton, Natalie, Rob, and someone else who, I think there were 4 people that they showed us at the end who hadn't come in yet.
Was Steven on that list too?
Maybe.
It might have been Steven and somebody else.
I thought maybe they murdered Natalie.
I thought maybe Natalie, because that's who we had in our bottom spots, was Natalie and Colton, because I thought maybe they were going to be a risk for murder, but also a risk for banishment, potentially. So I think that was where it was just like, oh, it's never good to be on the list for both, because then, yeah, you're increasing the chances of the possibility of you leaving the game. It's drastically improved here.
Just felt like the dumbest move that you could possibly make.
Well, it was dumb for Candace. And honestly, it's because she had a lack of information. Because clearly, Rob knew that Candace's name had been thrown out multiple times. And then if there already was this lingering, sneaking suspicion that was something slightly suspicious, and then now Colton's not showing up for breakfast because he's been murdered, that points directly to Candace. That does not look good for her.
No.
It's not good.
I do understand why she wanted him out of the game. He was definitely a faithful who it just took him sniffing around to get everybody else to start to think that you're probably a traitor.
Right.
He was very loud. The way he came at Lisa was very aggressive and probably not something that she wanted to deal with either. But it was too risky to get rid of him like that.
Well, this is the point, too, where it's once you see, okay, when Colton is murdered, this is a key faithful. Not for the show, because honestly, it was a breath of fresh air to not have to see or hear him.
I was shocked and also relieved to know that I did not have to watch Colton and his crazy eyes continue to accuse more women of being traitors in this castle.
Much more enjoyable to know that we can go at least a few more episodes until the reunion where we have to see him again, probably.
Wasn't it like enjoyable to not have that angry, aggressive energy that he brought?
Yeah.
And we got some other people who finally got some screen time.
Right. Yes. And I think that was beneficial here. But this is like the turning point for a lot of faithfuls too, where like Kristen was realizing, she's like, oh no, I was absolutely convinced that Colton was a traitor. So if he's been murdered, that means that he was a faithful the whole game. So now I just need to take whoever I thought was a traitor, whoever I thought was a faithful, and just flip those around. Just go completely opposite here. And then who do we think that would lead us to at this point?
See, that's another problem, because as much as she thinks this is strategic, Candace, this is actually a random murder in the opinion of the other people who were there. And it's causing them to question everything that they have thought up to this point. And that's not good, because now they're going to start considering people who they haven't thought were traitors before. Right.
It's too random. Random's good at the beginning of the game. When you go random further along, especially if it's people who have suspicion on them, because I think that was the bad part too, is that Candace was removing Colton where there were a few people who were convinced he was a traitor.
That's why I'm calling it random. Because if there's somebody who already has enough suspicion that they could go at the round table and be banished, why would you as a traitor eliminate somebody who's a good cover for you? Right.
It's like murdering Steven, where it's like now there's suspicion that's building for him. Let that suspicion build. Let how can you add fuel to that fire instead?
But her entire goal of doing this was to sever that alliance that Colton and Rob had.
I think she was wanting to get back at Rob for eliminating Lisa, too.
Yes.
Was like the other part of that. She wanted to kind of punish him in that way of like, well, now you're going to lose a close ally, and here it goes.
But she's not considering really how Rob is playing this game. And I think she mentions later that they have a difference in values. She's a loyal person.
Yes.
And Rob is playing this game from the perspective of everyone's got to go at some point. So he knows, even though he's had this alliance with Colton and that it could be strategically beneficial for him to keep him around, that he's going to go sooner or later.
Well, that's the kicker, right? That's why Rob was in such a great place, because it's a win-win for him. If Colton doesn't get murdered, he still has a super strong, faithful ally in the house that he can work with. If he does get murdered, all roads lead back to Candace on that.
Yeah.
So that is not a problem for him. He was trying to say, I would prefer that we do not murder Colton because he is a big ally for me. He's a faithful that I work closely with. But at the same time, I think he knew that if he said that he was very important to him, it's going to make Candace want to murder him more.
Yeah. I think Candace also isn't considering that alliance is much bigger than just Colton and Rob.
Right. Yeah, it's a group. It's several people. You got Maura, you've got Eric, you've got a few different people who are involved in that sort of alliance that's going on.
Natalie,
here,
Mark to some extent.
Natalie and Mark too, a little bit, yeah. And like Steven's kind of on the outlier of that too. Sometimes he'll get aligned with it, sometimes he doesn't.
But that tells you Rob thinks he has enough people in this game who are faithfuls who think that he's also a faithful, that he's like, I could go to the end with any of these people.
Not who think, who are convinced he's a faithful.
Right.
Yeah. Aren't even interested in entertaining the idea that he could possibly be a traitor.
So very, 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 very stupid move of Candace.
Well, I mean, to be fair,
she doesn't know.
She doesn't know how bad it was, but it's like, I think she got a little too petty. She got vindictive about it, where she wanted to get back at Rob and cut a close tie for him, but didn't realize, because of course Rob's not going to tell you that, hey, that's going to be really bad for you. She's trying to build this story and like call attention to Rob being nervous, though, at breakfast. He dropped his fork when she asked him a question about Colton. And so there's just like this story that she's trying to build out now, because I think she's finding out that like Candace's name has been floated by Colton. And Rob knew about that prior to. He's trying to say he found out about it this morning. And she's like, I don't think you found out about it this morning. I think you knew about that before. So why didn't you tell me? Why did you let me do that then?
The answer is very clear.
Because it's a win-win.
Yeah, because the traitors have turned on each other at this point. I think that that's what she hasn't considered about the game that she's playing, was that the traitors were playing all together at the beginning. And she took that as there was some level of loyalty that they've pledged to one another. But at some point, this game turns into the traitors getting rid of each other, because the closer you get to the end, the better it is for you if you're one of the only traitors left.
Right. Well, yeah, and that's what people have pointed out, people who have watched Candace's seasons of Housewives, where she is incredibly loyal. Like, there's the loyalty is like the top priority for her. And then if people betray that trust, basically, she goes scorched earth pretty much, which that's what we were expecting to see here. And I mean,
at least it's a consistent personality trait.
Yeah. And like
it shows how you bring yourself into this game and how it can kind of blind you from the moves that you should be making.
Right. Because I think there was a little bit too personal on the decision-making process that led to that. And now it's leaving her a little bit more exposed than she probably would have been if she had made a different decision for the murder last night. But that gets us to the mission here, where it's kind of a complicated mission a little bit, where we have to split up into multiple teams. There's like 3 different groups.
I loved this.
Yeah, this was fun, though. This was good.
I enjoyed watching this. For me, this is so much better than watching a physical competition.
Yeah.
Like, it was funny.
It was entertaining.
Yeah.
And, like, there was a level of creativity that needed to be involved as well.
That's why I enjoyed it.
Okay, so, like, the 3 teams is that there's 2 teams that are going to go out into the field to, like, read through these descriptors of these paintings, basically. And they're going to need to take a photograph recreating the painting description. So they only have like the words to explain what the painting should look like. So then they're trying to physically represent that, take a picture of that, and then they're sending the picture to another team that's in the gallery who has to pick out from all of these paintings, place the one that they believe that those teams are recreating out in the field.
And they figure out who's going to go into the gallery by nominating 3 people. That wasn't the way it was presented to them, but they decide that they're all about democracy. And so they're going to vote on who goes. Rob gets nominated.
Well, because the gallery team is the only group that would have access to a shield. So there is a shield that's in play for this, but only the people who go into the gallery will have an opportunity to maybe possibly find that. So Rob was basically volunteering to, hey, I'm kind of worried about being murdered, so I would like to get a shield if I could, which obviously he was close with Colton. So yes, he would be concerned that he would be up for murder as well. So that makes sense.
Well, and everybody's on board for it.
Yes.
Because as Candace says, everybody wants to drink Rob's bathwater.
Well, to a certain extent.
Which is happening both on the show and for fans at home watching.
Okay. Pretty much, yeah.
And then Mark and Kristen also end up in there as well.
Right. So they're going to be the ones in the gallery trying to match up the paintings to these photographs that the other 2 teams are going to be sending them. The 2 teams that split up to recreate the photos, we have Candace, Johnny, Steven, and Eric. So that's one of the teams. And then the other team was Tara, Dorinda, Natalie, and Maura.
Which I'm telling you, I thought that the Tara team was going to do the worst.
Yes.
Not because of Tara, just the combination. I thought there's no way that they're going to be able to accurately depict these paintings.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like Candace's team was off to a really good start.
Okay.
When she got down on all fours and posed as the milkmaid with the whatever piece of clothing she tied around her head.
Well, okay.
I thought that they were doing good.
She had like a cow print jacket on, which she placed onto Johnny, and then Johnny played the cow wearing a cow jacket. And then they were like, oh, what is that, a horse? It's a horse. And it's definitely not a horse. I've never seen a horse in that position with anybody interacting with a horse in that way.
Okay, Rob was doing a very bad job guessing what they were trying to be.
Was Rob sabotaging, though? Because Candace was on that team. So was he intentionally throwing out ridiculous ideas so then that way people subconsciously blame Candace?
I kind of thought that he was doing that. Although I did see that at one point they cut to the other team and he said something crazy that totally wasn't what they were doing. And I thought maybe he's just bad at this. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, it might have just been Rob's bad at guessing. It could have been. Very possibly could have been.
I mean, this is very niche to be able to understand what animals people are depicting in a photo.
But there's like 2 or 3 in a row where Eric was getting very frustrated because he was like, I ate grass. I put grass in my mouth. I ingested allergens in order to convey a cow.
And they didn't get it right.
And they didn't get it right. So it was for nothing. It was useless.
Also, at one point, Johnny pretends to choke Eric, which is in the painting. But I just want to call it out. Not a good look for somebody who has a domestic violence case against them in the past. I feel like
great.
Since we talked about Colton's past, we should make sure to acknowledge that. Although Johnny has been so far an enjoyable character on the show.
Yeah. More tolerable than Colton for the most part, as far as what we've seen as interactions go on the show. things that I wasn't expecting to hear shouted out this episode. Things like, Dorinda's a cow. That was not a sentence I was expecting to hear, because I think there was like they thought that Mara was a fish because her lips were shaped in a certain way. And so that was what they were perceiving, is like, wait, is it duck face? Is it fish face? And then they were like, wait, no, I think Dorinda is saying moo. It looks like she's saying moo. So Dorinda's a cow here. That's what's happening.
Natalie was like, you can tell her that. I'm not.
Yeah, you don't say that. Don't say that again.
Really don't, because Dorinda will probably come for you. Like she was wrong the whole time.
While they're doing this, though, Kristen is able to find the only painting in the gallery that has a canvas backing, or like a paper back. What is it? Paper backing? What is it? The backing on the canvas. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That stuff.
I think it's paper.
She ripped into it. There's a shield in there. So she got the shield. Now, did they announce who has the shield, or did Alan just say that the shield was claimed?
I think he just said there was a shield claimed, and then they added $12,000 to the prize pot.
Okay. So they didn't say who had it, maybe?
I feel like in the past, the shields were a huge conversation of
Yeah.
speculation, at least, like even among the faithfuls of who
Right.
got it. This season,
They don't really care.
it really hasn't been talked about too much.
These faithfuls aren't really worried about being murdered, I guess. That must be a big part of it there.
Well, I feel like at the beginning, they kept agreeing that they wouldn't take shields.
So that just kind of continued on, where people aren't really
Yeah.
staying competitive about that.
I don't know. It's been weird. Also, like, is that the second time Kristen has had a shield? Or no, that was the antidote.
Oh, the antidote. Yeah, that was different, which is kind of a shield in its own way, I
Yeah.
suppose. But that was more so to cover Johnny's butt than
Mhm.
to protect Kristen, I would say.
So they get back to the castle and there's some conversation going on. And Johnny warns Candace that people are coming for you at the round table tonight because your name's getting said quite a bit.
Yep.
Which is nice to hear from someone, because Rob certainly didn't come tell her that.
No, well, he's too busy saying Candace's name to everybody else in the house and slowly connecting the dots on that and building suspicion and coming up with more reasons why it would be good to vote for Candace and why it makes sense to vote her out as a traitor. So she wants to go have a conversation with Rob. She's got to talk to him here a little bit because, well, to an extent. At first, she's like, oh, that's interesting. I'm going to start throwing Rob's name around then too. So she was already talking to Steven and trying to get Steven to piece together that, hey, maybe Colton and Rob were working together so closely because one of them was a traitor, but Colton was murdered last night. So that would mean...
Which one do you think was the traitor?
Who would be the traitor in that group then? Of the two people, and one of them was definitely a faithful.
She's pushing this very hard.
And Rob walks in mid-conversation while Steven's kind of piecing stuff together, and he fills Rob in about like, yeah, we were talking about trying to figure out and remember where the name for Lisa came around. Like, who started throwing Lisa's name around originally? Where did that come from? And so Rob immediately knows, oh, Candace is trying to smear campaign on me here. That's what's going on. And basically they have a nice little heart-to-heart where Rob has to explain, it's a game. You know, we're at this point.
You're taking this very personally.
You're taking
and I
stuff
think
very
it's kind
personally.
of weird.
And then Candace is like, yeah, that's great that you feel that way, that you think I'm taking it personally. Just know that if my name comes up at the round table, though, I'm definitely bringing up your name. And so he's like, okay, well, your name's going to come up. Like, it's going to happen.
Also, the thing that she's kind of not realizing is that Rob has had so much influence already that when they get to the round table, he doesn't have to say anything tonight.
No. And even if it does, it looks more suspicious
Exactly.
of you bringing it up. So,
Well,
yeah.
she kind of backed herself into a corner
Yes.
with the throwaway vote last week.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I think that was where the difficulty is here, because now we get to the round table and it starts off with, we're kind of going a couple different directions here initially.
Johnny opened it up and he was like, look, there's something that I've been thinking about. And they end up talking about Steven in the challenge the day before and how Lisa gave him all of her rocks, which ended up propelling him into the top 6 so that he could try to get the dagger. And they thought that was weird because there was no previous interaction or alliance between Lisa and Steven that anybody had observed. Dorinda pointed that out.
Yeah, she piled on with that.
And so she was really surprised to see that that's where Lisa went with her rocks.
Steven did a good job, though, of explaining it away. And he basically lets everybody know that wasn't just a random thing that she came up to. I asked her, do you think you have enough to get into because it was only the top 6 people who would qualify. So like if she didn't have enough on her own to qualify,
why not just donate to somebody who's close?
And so then that's when she looked to him and said, okay, I'll give them to you. So he goes to explain that pretty well of she wouldn't have given me those rocks if I hadn't asked for them to begin with. So I think he's okay here. But also, take note, this is a faithful who answers a question, explains away a concern, and then shuts the fuck up. You stop talking.
Yes, that's an important part. You don't keep rambling.
No.
You don't. He also didn't throw out somebody else's name.
You don't redirect to somebody else's name of, who I've really been thinking about. No. You just explain it calmly, rationally. I'm sorry that I could see why that would be a concern. Here's what happened. Clarified. Good. Put that to rest. Let's see where the conversation goes now, because we're not going to keep talking about Steven. He already, put that to bed, basically.
So everybody turns to Candace. And I think another mistake that Candace made here was that she tries to explain what happened yesterday with the vote for Natalie.
Well, people are talking about the throwaway vote. That seemed odd. So, that's what she has to defend first, because that's the unfortunate thing. There are multiple things that Candace needs to address here, which means she's going to have to do a lot of the talking at the round table. It's unfortunate.
That tells you that there's too many things piling up that you've done.
Yes. So we're starting with, okay, it was the throwaway vote last night. The reason that people are not letting that go is because everybody else was pretty well convinced that Lisa is a traitor. And Candace was like, I just didn't see it. I wasn't buying it.
How come the evidence was enough for everybody else, but not for you?
For you. So that's strange.
And then she's talking about how she didn't want to vote for Natalie. But she said she was going to vote for Natalie before they came into the round table, that was already predetermined.
And that there was, the problem here being, she then mentioned something that there was a consensus before the round table yesterday that we were all going to vote for Natalie. And Natalie's like, what the fuck?
Who started that?
Who said that?
And so she wants to know who was the one behind trying to get rid of her. And Candace blames Tara.
And Tara's like, that it was like a general consensus of like a group of people. I was not rallying votes for Natalie.
And Tara is somebody who's been close to Candace.
Yes.
I feel like in that moment, Tara was like, you know what? I'm writing Candace's name down.
Yeah. That was some shit. Mm-hmm. To go for your closest faithful and blame them for something. That was really
that wasn't
bad.
A smart move.
So that was not good. Not good to bring that up in that moment and direct it towards Tara. That was really, really bad.
And then she starts trying to deflect by talking about Rob and how Rob's behavior is so strange. He's normally very cool and calm and collected. And then he seemed really flustered at breakfast, dropping his silverware. And that's when Maura butts in and is like, okay, this is weird, Candace. So last night was a throwaway vote for Rob. Mm-hmm. But now tonight you're here accusing Rob of being a traitor?
Correct. Yes. Yes.
You're following. Mm-hmm.
That is what is happening. Yes. I'm staying consistent with my vote. Is that good? Is that good?
She didn't even say that. That would have been a better excuse.
That would have been better. Yeah.
Really.
It was a throwaway vote. And then the more I thought about it, it seems like Rob, right?
You can't do that, girl. You
No.
can't do that.
It's just, okay, when you go from the defense to then immediately accusing someone who has little to no suspicion on them whatsoever, that's really bad. That's really, really bad. But I think this was just her last gasp. I think she just knew that pretty much everybody at the table was going to vote for her.
Oh, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Because one of the last things she says, literally, Alan is creeping towards the table in the background. And she's still going on trying to close her case. And she brings up that it seems like Colton was being used as Rob's beard.
And that's when it's like, okay, it's time to vote. And so if that's the last thing that you're going to hear, it's like, yeah, that was a stretch, right?
Well, I think she was trying to expose Rob's entire game.
Yes.
That he was using Colton as a pawn.
Right.
The whole time.
Yes.
But that kind of falls flat because of everything else that was going on. And you can't go from saying you voted for somebody randomly the night before to being convinced that they're the one, not only like who was a traitor, but who was behind using one of their key faithfuls as a puppet.
Yeah. That isn't going to fly. And so the votes tally up pretty quick, where basically every single person voted for Candace, except for Natalie, who voted for Tara, because I think that was just
wants to get back at her.
That was a personal slight of, what Candace was just saying too. And then Candace voted for, you guessed it, Rob again, which here's my thing. Okay. If you didn't go for Rob at the round table and you defended as much of what you needed to say, and then you stop talking and see if there's any other suspicion that comes around or anything else that comes up, because there might be some more people who maybe go back to Natalie for something that's suspicious, or maybe go back to Steven to explain more things because, oh, yeah, that makes sense with the rocks, but I was also thinking about this, and this.
That's one of the big problems that happened here was the majority of the conversation was about Candace.
It was about Candace. And then it's Candace throwing to Rob, which Rob is, you can't bring that up there for the first time at the round table. You have to have people on your side if you're going to bring that up like that. So she was trying to go all out assault against Rob, but she did not have the strategic position to be making that kind of a play. If she had taken a back seat to it, and then maybe everybody still votes for Candace. Like, if you can kind of get that read of, is everybody going to vote for me? I think it would have been more powerful for her to not even mention Rob's name and vote for him again, though. Because that would have said the clue, because she's about to get up there and admit to everyone that she's a traitor.
Because now she just looks like a traitor who's trying to deflect.
She looked like a traitor who was trying to deflect. So again, this works in Rob's favor.
Also, he stayed very calm, which was one of the things that he had talked about in one of his confessionals, was that he felt like when you get really passionate and upset at the round table, it's usually an indicator that you're a traitor. And this could have looked like a traitor on traitor fight if he had gotten more upset at her accusing him.
Right. Yeah, because like it would have seemed more like a betrayal, and people could have read into that a little bit more. But Candace is banished, and we had her second place on our bracketology, so that kind of hurt a little bit.
They are flying high, the Faithfuls, because this is 2 nights in a row they've banished a traitor.
Yes, because you've been handed them by another traitor. So nobody's piecing that together yet. Nobody's realizing that, boy, when you go 2 for 2 in a row here,
they think they're doing really well.
We're really good at this game is usually the first thought that comes into everyone's mind.
And were that should handed not be a traitor.
Yeah, multiple. 2 in a row. Yes, you were hand fed. They brought the airplane on the spoon. Bring it in. Here it comes.
Johnny's not doing well.
Johnny,
yeah, he's really crushed.
Yeah, we need a wellness check on Johnny tonight, because he is just beside himself, and he's so broken up about this that he is bonding with Dorinda, where he's like, now I know what you must have felt like when Lisa was a traitor, because this is too much. This is the person I was closest to in this house. This is crazy.
Well, aside from Tara, which he's not actually
aside
telling
from Tara,
anybody.
but yeah, that's just a assumption at this point. Yeah, you can just assume that Johnny and Tara are playing on the same team here.
I would just be thinking how embarrassing it is that I've been saying all of these things to the camera about this other person and how much I trust them, and then I found out that they're a traitor.
So then the other problem that arises from this is that you were close to a traitor. So guess what?
It's rubbed off on you a little bit.
Now people are thinking maybe Johnny's a traitor. Johnny's name starts flying all over the place here before bed.
Not good.
Not good.
But the turret is pretty empty tonight because we're just down to Rob. And he's relieved. He's relieved. It's quiet. He's getting time to think.
Poor Rob. Yeah. All by myself.
This is what he wanted.
Pretty much.
He's gotten what he tried to achieve here.
I think he said that at one point. He said, finally, some peace and quiet. And then Alan came in, and it was like, okay, well, now you are faced with a choice. You're the only traitor left in the game. A traitor was banished. So now you can recruit another traitor via an ultimatum, which this is the nice way to recruit as a traitor. Probably.
This is my favorite recruitment of the whole season.
You have the best of both worlds here because you can get an opportunity to recruit someone. And if they say no, then they're murdered. They're removed from the game. So it's a win-win situation as a traitor.
He's thinking about it. And first, he's really considering Johnny because that could be really interesting. I'm thinking that he wants to throw Johnny under the bus. Sacrifice him.
That's usually what would happen.
Because Johnny's name is getting thrown out there tonight.
He knows. Yeah, he's heard all the talk after the round table here before bed was Johnny's name was coming up a bunch. But here's the problem with that. If you go to recruit Johnny and then Johnny says, nope, no thanks. I don't want to be thrown under the bus. People were already suspicious of me. I don't want to help your game. So I'll just go home. And he chooses to be murdered instead, that's where it gets interesting, is because now you've murdered a faithful who had a ton of suspicion on them. Mm-hmm. So that doesn't
kind of
look
a
good.
waste.
It's a waste, yeah.
I think that's what he was also thinking about Mark, because he feels like he's got Mark in his pocket. I think he was an alternative to Colton for him as far as someone he would take to the end.
Right.
But now do you make that person a traitor? And then you've now lost another person who could have gone to the end of the game with you and would have trusted you. So that kind of seems not really like the best decision.
Yeah.
And then there's Eric.
He's leaning more towards Eric, perhaps, as a possibility, just because even if you murder Eric, that's a faithful lost. I don't think anybody would have voted for him at the round table. It's just, it seems like that would be the play to go with here, right?
He's somebody who, like you said, is probably going to be at the end of the game and nobody is really going to look at him thinking he's a traitor. But that could also burn you. Uh-huh.
Yes. Here's the issue that I have with Eric. Do you think he's going to be able to be recruited and play it cool like nothing has changed? I don't think he's going to be able.
The person he's presented himself to be so far, I don't think that he's going to be able to have no change in demeanor tomorrow morning at breakfast.
What I'm getting at with that is like, he's a great, stupid faithful who was convinced that he heard a laugh that belonged to, that was Portia, right? That he was, or
no, Portia was gone week one.
Oh, Portia was, wait. Oh yeah, Portia was week one. So that was, it was,
Tiffany's.
Gosh, it was Tiffany. Yeah,
yeah,
so
he
Tiffany.
thought it was Tiffany, and that was the nail in Tiffany's coffin.
He was convinced that he heard Tiffany laugh. Wrong. He gets the letter here of his ultimatum meeting, and he reads the handwriting at the top, and he goes, oh my God, I know whose handwriting this is.
Do you think he guesses right?
This is Johnny. Johnny is a traitor and he's trying to recruit or murder me right now. So like these types of things where he's all in on his deduction.
I love him though.
I do too.
I'm so excited to get more screen time from him.
But I'm just saying, like, I don't think he would be able to have these theories to come up with this and believe it wholeheartedly the way that he does as a faithful. I don't think he'll be able to do that as a traitor because he's going to have too much intention behind it if he is trying to misdirect people by coming up with a theory about someone else. It's going to seem different than these authentic ridiculous scenarios that he's making up for himself.
Yeah, I guess we'll see how it plays out. But I think Rob's thinking on this is that he trusts Eric enough to work with him as a traitor. He's not somebody who's going to come in and just be out for himself. And he's probably going to need a little bit of mentorship to get him started.
Well,
and if he's so bad at it that attention turns on him, that's a win for Rob at this point because it keeps him in the game a little bit longer while everybody's trying to get rid of Eric.
Right.
And if Eric stands up there and says he's a traitor, everybody's going to think back to that moment where he said he heard Tiffany laugh.
Yep.
And they're going to think that he was a traitor from the beginning.
Right. Yeah. Somebody who has enough of suspicion on him. A big moment that really impacted the game early on. It's going to be one of those people of, can you finish the game with them? Would you finish the game with them?
And if it also sets Rob up to be in a position where if they're at the end, say Eric doesn't do so poorly that he's immediately out after he becomes a traitor. If it comes down to the two of them and he wants to eliminate Eric, he's able to point back to that laugh from early on in the game and say, hey, maybe we should look at that another time.
Yeah. I mean,
that's what
sense.
He's doing.
This is the play. Yeah, it makes sense from a strategic standpoint and the game that Rob is playing. Absolutely, to go this route. Definitely.
So we do get to see Eric meet Rob outside. And he walks up. First of all, I feel like it should have been an indication when he saw how tall the figure in the cloak was that it probably wasn't Johnny.
He's like, oh my God, it's Johnny. It's Johnny wearing stilts.
And he is genuinely surprised when Rob throws his hood back.
Yes, because of course it's Rob. But yeah, this is a shock. This is a surprise. We don't know what to expect.
No, we're left on a cliffhanger. Answer?
What do you think? What do you think he's going to go with?
I think he's going to say yes. I don't think there's any chance that he decides just to be murdered instead.
I think... I think Rob was nervous where he was like, I don't know if Eric or if Mark won't try to throw me under the bus the way I just threw Lisa and Candace under the bus, though. Like, there is that risk of going the recruitment route where then you have a traitor who's been recruited who tries to throw the original traitor under the bus.
Yeah, but think about it. Has Eric been somebody in this game so far who has thrown a name out and then rallied people to vote for them at the round table?
No.
So if he suddenly did that, wouldn't
except
that
for
be
Tiffany.
Odd? Well, except for Tiffany.
But that was bad.
Even that, he was used as supporting evidence. It wasn't him coming and saying, like, we need to get rid of Tiffany because of this.
He didn't have the
he
claim.
Waited
the original claim. No, yeah,
to say something.
He held on to that information. So he's not a prominent voice at the round table. We've already seen multiple times here, because kind of with last week and then definitely with this week, where if you bring up accusations against Rob, people are not apt to believe those. So you really got to have some strong evidence, and you have to know what the play is if you're going to make that happen.
I kind of think that's why he was worried about Johnny and Mark also, because they've both been more influential than Eric has been.
Correct. So I can see that as the reason. Also, Rob still has the dagger. So he can hang that over Eric's head too, of saying, don't go against me because I have the dagger. So Eric knows that he has the dagger because he told him that when they left. Eric was one of the people who was competing for the dagger.
Mm-hmm.
So Eric knows. So I think that was another benefit too of he wants somebody. Rob didn't use the dagger at the round table against Candace because he was saying everybody who's still in the game who knows that Rob has a dagger, that's power. He has something over them that they don't want to go against him. Like subconsciously, they know that they're like outmatched already. So like, don't even bother. So I think that was the other reasoning, was he wanted somebody who knew he has the dagger.
That's an interesting thought as well.
Just piecing that together.
The more you pick it apart, Rob is playing a really good game.
Rob's playing a great game. I'll give him that. It's just, yeah, the differences in the gameplay that you're seeing, it's the deception. He's doing the deception and the betrayals and stuff when they need to happen at the right times and with the right motives and reasoning already lined up where things can work in his favor.
Well, we'll see if he's able to keep that up.
We'll see.
And if recruiting Eric was a good idea or a bad idea.
Right.
Well, we have a bracketology update. This was a big one this week because Candace going, I think she was still at the top of a lot of people's brackets.
Yeah.
She was at the top of ours still.
She was up there.
I really thought it was going to take
I thought she would be able to weather it.
Another round table.
I thought she was going to be able to fight off the first accusations, not just go 0 to 100. But man, the Colton murder really drew the line right back to her, especially when there was already enough of a sneaking suspicion from her weird vote the night before too. So that really didn't help, but we're hanging in there. 5th place. Not that it matters because we're not going to get any of the prizes, you guys. That's just how it goes. But 1st place, we got Mia Girl. 2nd place, Bunna. 3rd place, 8478 Ice. 4th place, Crystal, Hulks for Keeps. And then tied with us in 5th place is Desert Dog 155. And then who else is rounding out the top 10 here? CVD Poel 89. Then we have KJ 043, Bookworm 0824, and then we have a tie for 10th place between Suzuki and Tiger Fan.
So you got to keep setting your lineups.
Don't forget to set your lineups. That's the most important thing, you guys. You gotta be in it to win it. So you got to set those lineups. Also, Alan Cummings Lala, shout out. They're in 13th place. That's Robin's Creepy Dollies from our from the Special Forces bracket. So just a heads up on that. That was confirmed. I can't remember if I confirmed that on the podcast here.
Well, that's what we've got for you this week. Thank you guys for leaving us some reviews. I've seen that you're out there, you're writing, you're
the text,
clicking the stars.
The stars and the text in the text box. It's a lot of extra work and we appreciate it.
It is. Because clicking the stars is convenient.
It helps.
But Apple does not care about that, apparently.
But Apple goes, that's whatever. I need the words. I live for the words, and that's what it needs. So that has been very helpful. We greatly appreciate it. If you guys like what you're hearing and you want to hear more, you can get access to our episodes early and ad-free over on Patreon, patreon.com/survivingpod. You can also check the episode description. We've got all the links to everything that we're doing, so check it out there too.
Thanks for listening. See you next time.